What's going on, Imperials? It's Emperor Cubone here. Capturing Pokémon is a key part of any journey, which is how you can easily beat all those losers who only have one Pokémon, and they have someone to show you how to catch a new teammate in every game. However, that is not the only way to get new Pokémon, because each game also has a variety of Gift Pokémon. And no, I'm not talking about the poison type in German, look it up, and I mean outside of the choices that you get, such as starters or fossils. These Pokémon are simply handed to you, and you get to decide if you'll add them to your team, or just shove them in the box forever. However, sometimes these gift Pokémon have a few drawbacks, and you would be better off avoiding them altogether. So let's see who are the top 6 best and worst gift Pokémon. Number 6 worst, Meowth. There are actually quite a few gifts of Meowth over the years that have varying degrees of usefulness for you, but I'm talking about the Galarian version. Now, this gift wasn't in Galar, because you could simply go out and catch one in the wild there, so this gift comes from Scarlet and Violet. I say it in quotes like that because this gift is hardly free, but you can pick it up at the school from one of your teachers. However, it is not simply out of the goodness of his heart. Salvatore here forces you to attend every one of his classes, and only then will he give you the Steel-type Meowth, so it's really more homework than a gift. And the worst part is that it's far easier to just grab a Galarian Meowth yourself from Sword and Shield. The numbers bear it out that anyone playing Scarlet and Violet is likely to already own a Gen 8 game first, so with Pokemon Home now being compatible, even the free version would allow you to seamlessly transfer up the variant just one game, so that sounds far more appealing than having to fall asleep in class. If they really wanted to make it worth your while, at least it could have been an Alolan Meowth, as it has been far longer since we've had access to that one, but I guess they addressed that by him giving you one in the DLC, or at the very least it could have been an underleveled Berserker or something. Number 6 best, Mew. Now, there have been plenty of distributions for Mew over the years, but I am not talking about real-world instances of handing out the first mythical, just within the games themselves, and I'm particularly looking at Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And actually, right next to it is a free Jirachi as well, so this is sort of a 2-for-1 deal. And true, it's not entirely free because it does require you to have some save data for either Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, or for Sword and Shield for Jirachi, I guess because Jirachi is reminiscent of a wishing star falling down from the heavens, and Mew, I guess because of the Pokeball controller compatible with that game. So a free Mew given to you is better than spending $50 for one, and as I said, statistically, if you're playing the Sinnoh remakes, then you've already got these other games anyway, so it's really just more of a fun bonus reward. And I value it above handing out other regular legendaries, because the mythicals are so typically difficult to obtain in real life, that anytime one is guaranteed, it has to be appreciated. And while it may be cheating a bit to use one, they're still at a low enough level before the second gym, so unlike say a post-launch download, you can actually integrate these gifts into your team if you want to do so. Number 5 worst, Lurantis. Here I am specifically talking about the Totem Lurantis that you can get in Ultra Sun and Moon, and you may be wondering what makes it so bad if you can get a giant version of a Pokemon that you love to do whatever with, but I'll tell you. See, pretty much every other Totem Pokemon has been given their hidden abilities, so they don't just look impressive, they have a functional difference to entice you to use them, unlike the Lurantis here. The only ones that don't have them are Pokemon that have great signature abilities, or no hidden ability at all to speak of. But then you have Lurantis over here, who I can only assume out of sheer laziness only has its regular old ability. At least its version opposite had Corrosion, but the Bloomsicle over here only had Leaf Guard. Would you really want to have that one over Contrary? Were they just worried that having its hidden ability combined with its size would make it too dominant? Perhaps, but since when have they ever been worried about making a Pokemon too popular? Number 5 best, Lapras. The gentle giant that loves to ferry people across the water is the perfect gift in a Pokemon game to be able to teach Surf for you to ride around on. And indeed, there are often unique animations just for Lapras while riding the waves, which proves just how essential it is to this world. Now, you might be asking, which Lapras are you talking about exactly? Well, really any of them. I love the one from Kanto that you get in the middle of the rocket invasion of Silphco. It's totally out of place to be given such a wonderful gift in a time of crisis, but that's what makes this random event so charming. And the Lapras gets higher leveled every time we see it, so it's just more and more combat viable every single time. There's also one in Kalos right before the first spot that you even need Surf, being the perfect vehicle to transport you across the ocean. and it's so satisfying to mount one and throw a fishing rod over its shoulder just to relax. And in case you didn't think it was worth using in battle, this one is guaranteed to have perfect HP IVs and then 20s in every other IV stat. So if you need a good hefty ice type, Lapras is a great option. And I can only hope that they keep this trend going and pass out even more quality Lapras in the future games. Number 4 worst, Cast Form. So I'm not really a huge fan of this Pokemon in general, but I don't mind the fact that you can only get it from a gift. The problem comes from the fact that it is so late in the game. It makes sense to get a Cast Form at the Weather Institute, but it doesn't fit for that location to be right next to the 6th gym. Seriously, if it were a Zangoose or something stronger, then that could work, but Cast Form is a total weakling. This little water molecule only has 70s across the board in every stat, and it wasn't until Oros that they bothered making it a higher level than the wild Pokemon around it. There's no reason that the Weather Institute had to be this late, because we've already seen other weather conditions like sandstorms, or even the soot falling on Route 113. I know that falling ash isn't an in-battle weather condition, but if this is just because Cast Form doesn't have a form for the sandstorm weather condition, then that's just really petty, guys. If they had put the Weather Institute over by, say, Fall Arbor Town, then things would have been better for everyone. Because as of right now, the best thing about Cast Form is that it's holding a Mystic Water. Number 4 best, Latios and Latias. As we said, legendary Pokemon are pretty rare with only one per version, but they're usually right at the end, so you can't exactly use them to, say, beat the evil teams or face the gyms, but that changed in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. See, around the midway point, you meet up with Steven and fly to the southern island to receive Latios or Latias based on your version. This is by far the earliest that we have seen the Eon Twins, and even if their stats are a bit much for this stage of the game, they're right around the level that your team would be by now, so you can just slide them right in. Or if you don't want to take the easy way out, these Pokemon can learn a ton of the useful HMs. Usually the HM pack mules are pretty worthless in battle, but having a legendary Pokemon use those attacks in battle would actually do some damage, even if it is kind of a waste. However, the best part has got to be that these Psychic Dragons come with their Mega Stones, which means that you can Mega Evolve them immediately. This is quite impressive considering that your starters haven't even gotten their Mega Stones yet, so you've got a powerhouse if you want to show off the defining feature of these remakes. Not to mention they offer you the chance to soar over the region, opening up access to tons of unique locations to capture new or legendary Pokemon, making Latios and Latias a benefit in just about any facet of the game that you could possibly want. Number 3 worst, Shuckle. Shuckle is not an inherently bad Pokemon, but really this gift is on the list because of the moral implications in this scenario. What I mean is the way that you get the Shuckle gift is by talking to a dude who is terrified from being robbed by your rival. He actually stole one of this man's Pokemon, and he doesn't want the same thing to happen to his beloved Shucky. So seeing that you're a powerful trainer, he begs you to take care of it for him until he knows that it's safe again. Obviously you agree and bring this prestigious Pokemon onto your team, but the expectation is that you'll always give it back. However, if you want to keep this Pokemon, then you'll have to steal it from the poor man, being no better than Silver. At least with the Spearow Kenya, the guy that you're supposed to send it back to only cared about the mail that it was holding in the first place, but here you're just stealing a man's favorite pet when you could just as easily go find one by smashing some rocks. So basically you're obligated to give this gift back, or you're worse than all of the evil teams out there. Number 3 best, Cosmog. A lot of times choosing your version will come down to which mascot you like better, but it can be difficult to catch them all if you only ever get one side. That's what makes Alola so great, because the box art legendaries are actually related, and both evolve from the same source, Cosmog. Or I guess Cosmoem technically, but after you've captured Solgaleo or Lunala, you can be taken through the Ultra Portal to the opposite game version, to the Lake of the Sun or the Moon. And there you can pick up your own small little Cosmog. This is great for 2 reasons. Firstly, you don't actually get to catch Nebby as a Cosmog, so it was never in your decks, but after you evolve it again, you have the perfect bargaining chip for trade. Usually, it's impossible to get the other version's mascot, but if you have an extra Cosmoem lying around, then you and a friend can swap them to evolve, or you could have just outright asked for a Sun Lion in exchange for your Moon Bat, as it is a completely fair trade and you aren't even really sacrificing anything, so it's a win-win for everyone involved to be able to experience both ends of this phenomenal legendary evolutionary line. However, not every gift in Alola is so great because, number 2 worst, Porygon. This computerized duck is a perfectly fine Pokemon, and its evolutions are potent battlers, but in all honesty, what is it even doing here? It doesn't exactly go with the tropical island aesthetic. I guess you could say that it's on brand for the Ether Foundation, which is actually how you get this gift given to you, but it's not until you've beaten the game. You can only receive this virtual Pokemon post-Hall of Fame, or in the Ultra Games after beating Rainbow Rocket. Why even bother having this line in the game if you're not allowed to even pick one up until you're done with it? The post-game Beldum gift in Hoenn makes sense, as you've just seen the champion use a Metagross as their ace, so you're going to want to try out that newly revealed Pokemon for yourself, but Porygon is old news here, all of them are. And no prominent trainers even use one. It doesn't even have a specific Z move, so this line easily could have been swapped out for any other in the roster, and it would have fit the games better. Number 2 best, Shiny Pokemon. I've talked before about exclusive, guaranteed shiny gifts in the games, but they are invaluable. It takes all of the nerve-wracking guesswork and chance out of trying to get that sweet different colored Pokemon. And there are multiple gifts throughout the games, like the Black and White 2 victory prizes of Gible and Dratini. These shiny pseudo-legendaries are the reward for your hard work of battling through the Black Tower or the White Tree Hollow, and it's quite fitting that a direct relative of the champion would be the one that gives it to you. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone for these shiny Pokemon at the end, and they have supreme trading value because everybody wants a chance at one of those shiny dragons. But of course, those are not the only shiny gifts, because you also get a Munchlax in the teal mask. You can only get it after completing the Ogre Oustin on hard difficulty, which is arguably more challenging than the dragons from the Unova games, and the colors don't stand out quite as much, but a shiny version of some of the most popular Pokemon out there isn't gonna hurt anyone. And it makes those who would freely give up such treasures some of the most generous people in the Pokemon world. Number 1 worst, Tentacool. This is likely a gift Pokemon that many fans never even knew about, but it's the worst for a number of reasons. This gift comes to you in Cianwood, so a lowly Tentacool that's at level 15 is the bare minimum of what you would find in the water that you just came across to get there, but likely much higher levels than that, or even its evolution for free out in the wild. That is the first reason that it's so awful, but the second reason is that you can't ever really even get this gift, because it requires you to release all of your Pokemon. Seriously, if you're dumb enough to throw out everything from your boxes and release any Pokemon that could learn HMs, they will toss you this Tentacool, presumably out of pity for being so foolish, so that you have a way to surf back to the other shore. Never mind the fact that you get the Fly HM from Chuck at this gym and they could give you a flying type instead. There's no reason to release every single Pokemon that you own just to get a paltry gift in return. And what's really odd is that this is never the case for any other isolated locations. You don't get a free Pokemon on Cinnabar if you dump everything else into the ocean, or you don't get handed a free ride off of Moss Deep if you're empty-handed, so I guess they're just really concerned about you getting that medicine to Amphi in the lighthouse. But the fact that it would cost you just about everything in exchange for something so mundane means that it has got to be the worst gift in all of Pokemon. Now, if it were a free Toedscool, then we could talk. Number 1 best, Lucario. As one of the most consistently popular Pokemon over the years, you might say that this is an overrated pick, but I truly think that Lucario is an amazing gift. And I'm not really talking about the Riolu egg that Riley gives you, even though that is good too. I'm eyeing the one that Corina gives you in X and Y. Now yes, people complain about Kalos being too easy already, and the last thing to make it more challenging will be a Lucario, especially from the Tower of Mastery, meaning that it can Mega Evolve. As questionable as I think the gimmick might be as a whole, this Lucario is the first time that you can actually do it, and letting you keep the Aura Pokemon gets you the ability to Mega Evolve at your leisure, and it's pretty much the only way that you can do it for a long while. Like the Lati twins from before, at this point in the game, the Lucario would be the only thing that could actually use the gimmick, since there's no guarantee that you'll have fully evolved your Pokemon by the 3rd gym, and even if you do have, say, an Alakazam, you can't even get the Mega Stone until you beat the game because of the hidden stones everywhere. Even the Steelix that you just traded for earlier couldn't Mega Evolve until Oras. So if you actually wanted to experience the main selling point of the Gen 6 games, this Lucario would be your best bet. So then you might as well use the Jackal with the great typing and the massive move pool, because it's not like any of the Kalos starters can Mega Evolve. I mean, it was good enough to make Ash Ketchum the best champion in the world after all. So it may be overkill to use one against Ramos in the next gym, but a Lucario that can Mega Evolve when no one else can, basically makes it the face of these games. And even if you choose to set it aside, simply having it for free before you're likely to even get a Lucario under your own power makes it one of the best gifts that could be received in the Pokemon games. So those are the top 6 best and worst gift Pokemon across the series. Would you rather raise up a free egg that's handed to you instead? What are the most notable gift Pokemon to you? Let me know down in the comments. Also be sure to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe so that you too can become an Imperial today. And until next time, stay grounded.